Welcome to Washington in Focus. I'm Tim Clauser, your host, with the Center Square's Western Washington reporter, Spencer Pauly. Spencer, let's talk about nightclubs and unruly ones at that in Seattle. What's going on with Mayor Bruce Harrell's new proposal?
Basically, it's just another step in the mayor's proposal here to address gun violence that's being associated with nightclubs in the city. So this has been a rising issue, I believe, as last month. There was one shooting that left two people dead, and that was outside of a nightclub. So that's just one example here that happened in South Seattle. And so basically what we're seeing now is Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell has a new proposal that amends the city's chronic nuisance properties ordinance. And so what this does is it declares, let's just say a property is declared a chronic nuisance. They'd say they have 3 activities documented in like a 60-day period. They can eventually get shut down through this ordinance. Now, what activities are we seeing through this? Currently, it's gun violence, assault, drug trafficking, and prostitution, amongst other, crime-related crimes like that. Since 2009, when that ordinance was enacted, that law has only been used 17 times. So this includes 7 motels, 5 nightclubs, 3 private residences, and then there's 1 apartment building in a commercial space. So what this amendment would do is it adds liquor violations to the list of offenses considered when determining whether a property is a chronic nuisance. And then it also addresses off-property nuisance activities occurring adjacent to the property. So, Tim, in this instance, when we're looking at some nightclubs here, if there's a few problematic ones here that the city is aware of that have lack of liquor control, and also whether it's just guests at these clubs standing outside the street, getting into this activity, causing gun violence, resulting in death. So this proposal that was announced yesterday at the time of this recording here would seek to address that and give the city more options to handle this.
They're basically saying to these nightclubs, you guys need to keep things in order. Otherwise, we're going to come at you with these super expensive fines. Kind of as a threat to keep things in order. I mean, talk about the issue of gun violence. I mean, is it up this year compared to last year? What are the numbers currently sitting at?
I don't have the exact numbers as of today, Tim, but I can tell you that there are over 20 nightlife-linked shootings in the city so far in 2025. We're here June 10th, so within 6 months, that's a pretty good amount of crime we're seeing associated with nightlife, and that's on pace to surpass 47 linked nightlife shootings that happened all of last year. So this is an issue that isn't going away. This is something that the Seattle City Council has already worked on to improve. So this last April, we had the City Council pass an ordinance that required these after-hour bars and clubs to obtain city permits, employ 2 security personnel, and use video surveillance. And if they don't, then they could face fines, fees, and eventually shut down. And just before that bill even took effect, that's when the 2 people were killed outside that nightclub. So the city is trying to act fast here to kind of handle this situation, I suppose.
So they think if they're able to stop these people from drinking so late or drinking so much, I assume with these liquor violation laws, they're talking about drinking past 2 a.m. or whatever the time is where they have to stop legally selling alcohol. But I wonder, in the cases of these shootings, how many of these people are intoxicated when they do fire these shots, and whether they're one-off instances, people that are getting into a scuff with someone else, or if it's gang-related. I know that's been a rising issue as well in the area. So,
well, think about, Tim, you go to nightclubs and they don't let you wear certain hats, just wear hats in general that could be associated with different gangs. That's all small ways to sort of handle this situation. But at the same time, alcohol is a huge driver of aggression, perhaps, in some people. And by controlling, shutting down sales of alcohol past 2 a.m., it can do a little bit to help, perhaps. But we got to make sure this ordinance passes first and see if the city can address some of these nightclubs that are not really working with the city to handle the situation. They're not employing security. They're just making it unsafe for other guests who might just want to have a good night, I suppose, on a fun Saturday night. But yeah, this is an issue still.
What other steps would this pair with? Because I mean, it sounds like an all right idea by itself, but obviously it's not going to solve the issue with gun violence by itself. I mean, you have to pair it with multiple solutions. And from my understanding, that's been the mayor's intention. So can you talk a little bit else about what else the city has done in that regard?
Well, I mean, you start off by putting Seattle Police Department, you put in for law enforcement in different areas where there's more crime. You move them down South King County or South Seattle where this is occurring, just to provide more police presence is one way to do that. And then just for the city, I think by letting the Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes have more say in how they handle after this. Like I think Sean Barnes did issue a chronic nuisance declaration for that associated venue last month for that issue. And so I think if you're going to do this again, with more and more law, or I should say ordinances, it just provides SPD more options, I think. Now, I have to say, under the mayor's recent proposal, property owners are expected to respond to this declaration within 7 days, and they're supposed to work with the police department to do so. So it's just basically a kick in the pants for businesses to work with the police to provide a more safe place for people to go and have a good time. Now, they're facing $500 per day fine from the date of the declaration letter if they don't mitigate the nuisance activity. So it's not like you're going to see these nightclubs shut down immediately. But, with a $500 per day fine, you would hope that would, speed up the process for these businesses.
Yeah, at the same time, only $500, though, I wonder. I mean, you get a few patrons in that are, it might be more affluent and willing to spend more. I mean, you could have one person buying drinks for a few people.
Some people bust open the Don Julio 1942, Tim, they're having a good time. They're putting money in the business owner's pocket.
Exactly. And if they're buying bottle after bottle, or several groups of people are doing that, especially at, say, a higher end nightclub. I mean, it seems like it would only be common sense for the owner to be like, hey, only a $500 fine.
Ooh, Tim, I just remember that the ordinance does include a one-time penalty of $25,000 if the property owner ignores the city's directives. That's a big one here, Tim. I think we forgot about $500 per day fine. Sure. Not going to do much, but maybe the $25,000 could change something here. So
we'll see. That's some much needed context for the audience, Spencer. I mean, $25,000. You said that was a first time fine.
Yeah, if the property owner ignores the city's directives. So
yeah, I hope that they do. I think that might push some property owners to stop. That also makes me wonder how it'll affect other clubs. I mean, there's obviously an issue with clubs serving alcohol past a certain time, breaking that law. But who's to say it's every nightclub in the city, or that every nightclub that is doing this is having issues with gun violence? Not that they should be breaking the law, but it just makes me think about, say, the unintended consequences from this. So, Spencer, tell me a little bit more about what's next. So this proposal has been made. Where is it going? How long until we could potentially see this on the books?
Sure. Well, the legislation will be considered during the Seattle Public Safety Committee meeting on June 24th. So that's, a couple weeks away. And then from there, if it's approved or, revised by that committee, then it would be placed on the city council for a final vote later. So this isn't going to happen within the month, but, perhaps by the end of the summer, we could see this go into effect, and then we'll see the nightclubs face these penalties if they do not adhere to the chronic nuisance properties ordinance, these changes at least. So we'll see. It might take some time here, Tim, as local government goes, but they're probably in the steps. And I would think that the city council will side with Mayor Harrell here, and we'll see the approval of this ordinance. But that's just my guess.
Well, Spencer, I appreciate you covering the rollout of the proposal, and we'll be sure to follow it as it flows through the council and potentially levies these $25,000 fines on nightclub owners. But again, thank you for covering this, and thank you to everyone that tuned in this week for another episode of Washington in Focus.